crispy pastries in Naples, pho at 5 a.m., and panicking over a forgotten pastel de nata. This week, it's Daryl and Mindi from 2foodtrippers.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is for foodies who like to travel and travelers who love to eat. And this time, it's 2foodtrippers, Daryl and Mindi Hirsch. But first, take a second, rate and review Destination Eat Drink on your podcast app. And check out my foodie travel ebooks with all the best things to eat and drink in places like Lisbon, Porto, San Sebastian, and Seville. You can download them at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink. And thank you very, very much. Daryl and Mindi Hirsch are a foodie traveling couple originally from Philly and Atlanta. They're the brains behind the award-winning blog 2foodtrippers, and they've been featured in USA Today, Parade, and The Guardian. You can visit them at 2foodtrippers.com. That's the number 2, foodtrippers.com. They write food travel guides, coffee guides, and pizza guides to cities around the world, giving excellent tips for enjoying everything from high-end cuisine to street food. Daryl and Mindi tell me about living out of a suitcase for 3 years and some of their fave dishes like octopus stew in Lisbon, pizza in Naples, and a cafe with handmade cuckoo clocks on the wall. Oh, and one note about this conversation. Mindi and Daryl live in Lisbon, and since I live nearby, I met them at Honest Greens, a restaurant in Lisbon. So you'll hear some background noise and other diners enjoying their meals, and I think it adds to the ambiance of our conversation. Okay, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Daryl and Mindi Hirsch, 2foodtrippers.
Yes.
Welcome to Destination Eat Drink. It's great to see you in person. I've been following you for quite a long time, but I'm glad that we got to meet here at Honest Greens in Lisbon.
We're glad to.
We're happy, right? We got the Rio Tejo right in the background here, and it's beautiful.
It's a great spot. I've been to this restaurant, Honest Greens. They've got a few throughout Lisbon, and I've been to them before. I took my brother to one of these when he first came to visit us here, but I haven't been here, and I really like this area because I love this neighborhood, the Park of the Nations, because
Commonly called Expo, by the way.
Yeah, because of the expo that they had at the turn of the century. And it's a new neighborhood, and it's so different than the rest of Lisbon.
Oh, yeah. I'll come up here every once in a while. They have the mall, or just different things will bring us up here. It's funny because we're always hanging in downtown, and then you kind of forget that this is kind of the more modern part of the city with like skyscrapers and such.
And I think not a lot of tourists come here unless it's for maybe the aquarium or something like that.
They'll pass through here because usually you might switch trains at Orient Station if you're coming down from, say, Porto or Coimbra, and you have to switch and you're going down to Algarve. That's what we actually took our honeymoon here. Interesting part is we had taken the train in, and then we didn't even know the Continent was right across the street. Being curious travelers back then, we were like, "Ooh, a Portuguese supermarket! This has got to be interesting."
Continent, how exotic!
Yeah,
cool. And so you honeymooned in the Algarve. How long ago was that? When did you guys get married?
We got married in 2007, and
Okay.
we actually started in Porto, made our way down through Coimbra to the Algarve, and back up to Lisbon.
Nice.
Not knowing that we'd eventually live here.
Yeah. It was the same for us, except our first time here was 2019, which is really late for us. We've been coming to Europe for 20 years together, me and Karen at that point. But we came here in 2019, loved it, but had no intention of moving here, and 2 years later.
I bet in the early 2000s, if you ask most Americans, like, where is Portugal? They'd be like, I don't know, is it like inside Spain? You'd have no idea.
Right. And here we are. You guys have been here for 6+ years. We've been here for 3.5. You guys are originally from Philly. So before we get into the travel thing, the main question, Pat's or Geno's?
Generally, when I was a kid, I would go to Pat's. But, like, I think you always, with these kind of things, you always have to separate, like, what a sort of, like, tourist cheesesteak would be from, like, a really great cheesesteak. Now you've got the best cheesesteaks are made by, like, John's Roast Pork, Angelo's. What was the place over at Reading Terminal Market we went to?
Gus's.
Uncle Gus's. We went to this place in Reading Terminal Market, which is owned partly by the people from Angelo's, and it was just knocked my socks off. So there is a better level of cheesesteak. Also, you could go out to Roxborough. There's Chubby's and D'Alessandro's, and those are very good. So, yeah, Pat's, yeah, it's 4 a.m. You have nowhere else to go. You're probably going to go to Pat's or probably
Which
Pat.
one?
I would go to Pat's.
Okay.
For probably a number of different reasons I don't want to get too far into. But that would be if there's no other choices. But is it the best cheesesteak in Philly? I think most people would say no.
What about you, Mindy?
Well, I grew up in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I did not grow up with Pat's or Gita's, but I would have to say Angelo's.
Okay. Angelo's.
Yeah.
As I was walking out the door this morning, Karen said to me, she said, "Who are you talking to today?" And I said, "Daryl and Mindy." And she said, "Oh, Philly, there's a Philly cheesesteak place in Lisbon." And I didn't look it up, but I'm curious, have you guys tried it? Have you been there?
It's actually on our Instagram. If you go on, there's a little video about it on our Instagram. Yeah, they're doing a really good job. They've kind of found a way to, like, pull a few levers to make it work, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, instead of, like, in Philly they'd be using ribeye steak, whereas here they're using picanha because that's kind of like what's hanging around. But they're doing a really nice job.
Okay, good. All right. So why was it that...
Oh, and a great chicken cheesesteak there, too.
Oh, interesting.
Buffalo chicken cheesesteak.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the cheese itself? Is it...
I think they're using...
They're using some sort of Dutch cheese.
Yeah, they're using some kind of like an Edam cheese or Gouda or something like that.
Okay.
That seemed to work best for them and what they're trying to do. Because I think they wanted to do something milder, but like the Portuguese, they want a little more flavor in their cheese.
Yeah.
So that was like a big thing.
Good.
Yeah.
So you're in Philly. You guys got married. You're living there. What made you decide to pack up and hit the road?
Well, I take full credit or blame for that because we both love to travel. We love to eat. And when we were traveling and otherwise, and I just was really fed up with the whole corporate world. And
Preach on, sister.
I know, and I was burnt out, and I really wanted to travel for a year. And Daryl, meanwhile, was happy in his job, happy with his bands and his life. We had a nice house.
I was working for a pretty sizable restaurant group in Philadelphia. I worked there for them for 6 years, like kind of moving up through the company and stuff like that. And I had a lot of really cool food experiences working with the executive chef and doing stuff like that.
Nice. So this sounds very familiar to me because I had been trying to convince Karen for 10 years to move to Europe. She had an Italian passport. And I said, let's do it. But she loved her job. And so our compromise was we kept popping around the country, moving from here to there. But for me, it was always Europe. And when COVID hit, it was finally, okay, let's do this now. What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what about you guys? What was the final thing where you were finally able to convince Daryl to...
My last corporate job was a doozy with a heck of a commute, and I just said, this is it. I was not born to drive all day long to and from. And so I won't say I gave Daryl an ultimatum, but I gave him a choice, and he decided to come along.
Okay, yeah, I do like my job, but to travel the world for a year, I mean, could I turn that down? No, I don't think so.
So that was in 2016, and we've never returned.
Yeah. So a year turned into... this.
Yes.
Okay. So where did you go? You weren't in one place at that point. You were digital nomads, right?
Yes, and that was for 3 years. We lived out of a suitcase for 3 years through like, hey, can you keep us, we'd stop at our family's place with our suitcases and then we wonder what the heck was going on with us. But we started with like a road trip around the United States. We went out to Europe for a few months. We spent we slow traveled a lot, real slow travel, where we would spend a month in Lyon or a month in Zagreb, Croatia, or 2 or 3 weeks in Bologna, doing stuff like that. And then we would go out to Southeast Asia, like in 2018, probably broken up. We spent about 5 months in Da Nang, Vietnam. places like Chiang Mai, Thailand. We spent 3 months in South Africa. So doing all of those different things. It was I would say that I don't know if I could live nomadically that much again, but it was a really rewarding experience.
I can imagine. And during this time now, so 1 year stretches into 3 years.
Yeah.
You're not working.
Oh, we're working.
Are you working remotely? What are you doing?
Oh, we were working remote. We were building the site.
Okay, so you weren't doing corporate.
No.
You weren't doing your corporate job. You got out of that. Thank God, right? Daryl, you're not working for the restaurant group anymore.
No.
You're building up your new endeavor.
Yeah.
And how did that work for you? How did you get from zero, which is what you're basically at, to building it up over 3 years?
How did we get there, Mindy?
Well, we started out with savings, so that was key. We also rented our house, which gave us some rental income. And
there you go.
We did
Good
side
idea.
projects here and there
Yeah.
as they came up until we finally got the website large enough that we were able to monetize it and start making an income from that. But that took a few years.
Yeah. People think they're going to put up their Instagram and immediately,
no, that is not going to happen. Some people get lucky, but most people don't.
Right. Oh man. So let's talk about some of these places where you lived, and I don't want to tell you what to talk about. I'd like you to kind of guide me and tell me about some of your favorite places, because your site, 2foodtrippers, is right up my alley because it's food and travel. The two things that I love talking about. So. Give me an idea. Let's start talking about a few of these places.
You first.
Okay, me first. So we started out in we always gravitate a lot toward France and Italy. I guess being in food, I guess you're always going to be moving toward those places. So we traveled. We did a road trip around the U.S. and then we traveled to Lyon and spent a month in Lyon, France.
Amazing.
And back then I think it was things have changed a lot since the pandemic in certain ways. We were traveling. We were able to get good affordable Airbnb, hang out, and just check out the restaurant scene, really dig in depth, even see local places that were serving rotisserie chicken, or places that a lot of bistros, a lot of what they call bouchons.
Bouchons,
yeah,
they're amazing.
In Lyon, and able to we even were lucky enough to go out to one of the Saturday eating parties in one of the bouchons, and that turned into a connection that took us out to a cheese festival out in near the Alps, doing stuff like that. It was really really amazing. We're also able to cook. You're hanging in places for a while. Our vacations in say the early 2010s and stuff, we would go to a city like a Naples or a Paris or Lyon or something like that and say, look at all that great food. I wish I could cook that. Look at all that fresh food. Look at how amazing these European markets are. I really would love to cook that. And finally, there you are. You have a kitchen. You have a month to do it, and doing things. You always have to do things that scare you, but you find a way to do it and really develop your whole food repertoire. It's really amazing.
This is the big advantage, in my opinion, of slow travel, in that you can sit in one place and you can get a place with a kitchen. Because when we go for short breaks, for 3 or 4 days, there's so many great places that I want to go that we end up not cooking at home. But if you're there for a month, you can go to the market. You can now.
Oh, yeah. Well, back then there was I think it was our last week and a half there, we walked into a producers festival where they had all these different farmers from different areas, and one farmer was selling this beautiful duck breast from Gascony for, I think it was 8 or 9 euros for this enormous duck breast. And I was like, I gotta buy it. I gotta try this.
Yeah.
So sure enough, luckily you have the internet to basically guide you through it. And we had an amazing dinner the next night. It was something I'll never forget.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. One thing I want to say about Lyon, because it's one of my favorite, everyone knows this is an incredible gastronomic experience. And, you got to go to a bouchon. Make reservations.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing that's great about Lyon, in my opinion, is lunch is a great time to go out and eat, especially go where the office workers are going, because they always have a special, and it's always super high-quality food. That's the thing about Lyon, is you're rarely going to have a bad meal there. The quality, the demand by the public of the food that they will allow you to serve is so high that it's going to be hard to get a bad meal there.
Yeah, I think the only people I know who have had bad meals in Lyon went to places recommended by their concierge. It's best, just like you said, to ask the working man where to go.
I think it's good to get off the map. Like, I think even when it comes to things like Michelin guides and everything else like that, when you're in the place and you see a place, you're like, you know what? This place looks really local. I'm seeing people who are in business suits eating there. I'm seeing definitely like people who are in the neighborhood or going to a particular restaurant. That's kind of where you can get that. I mean, you can have a bad meal in Lyon. That can happen. But I think you just get a lay of the land. And also there's been a cooking renaissance there in the last, like, say, 10, 15 years, too.
Yeah,
really
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mindy, what's a memorable spot where you went during this period of nomadic existence?
Well, I'm a pizza person, so I'd have
Naples.
to say Naples.
Which we spent a month in early 2017.
Yeah,
oh, my God.
So we had been there prior to being nomadic and spent a few days and ran around like crazy people, which was fun. But being there for a month, we literally were a few blocks away from Damachele. So we would wander over at 11 a.m., walk right in, skip the line pretty much. And we ate at all many of the great pizza places, but it's more than just pizza there. I mean, all the food in Naples is great.
Yeah.
I would have to say that is a city where I have never had a bad meal.
Fantastic food city. I'm trying to think of the name of the place where I had the most amazing coffee. Mexico, it was called.
There are quite
There's
a few
like
of them.
20 of them in really like probably a 20 square block area.
Yeah.
Like we actually we did a whole video. We did a video where we dared ourselves to drink 10 espressos in one day.
Yeah, right.
To like, it's actually up on YouTube from a long time ago. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, we have an Italian friend, and she was appalled by the video. That is not how Italians drink coffee. But
the thing is, we're actually we're pretty big coffee connoisseurs. We're always looking for really high quality coffee, but like sometimes you just have to submit to a local custom. And I mean, being able to go over to, I don't know how much they are these days, but being able at the time to go have a euro for a cafe, you know, one hand pulled. And in Naples, it's this romantic procedure where the guy is literally like putting his body weight into pulling down the steam and everything.
Yeah, it's not pressing a button there.
No.
But I will have to say times have changed because now there is specialty coffee in Naples. You can have a flat white or a pour over.
Just one
cafe that we know of, but it's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I remember at Mexico, the great thing about it was they would put the little ceramic cups in very, very hot water. And then they would take it out and put the sugar in immediately, and it would start to caramelize around the cup, and then the coffee would go in.
We never experienced that. It was really just straight up. Senza zucchero.
We were not sugar people.
We originally said, what was it?
The word for bitter.
What's the word for? No amari. Like that was, but then we were lectured by a cafe that is not a nice thing to say. So because it means that your coffee is bitter. Don't say that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
Senza zucchero. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Anything else you loved about Naples?
I love everything about Naples.
Naples is, and I mean, I don't know, in an era where a lot of the insides of European cities have really gone through a tremendous change, maybe not for the better. It's one city that seems to be holding on, and a lot of people are kind of repulsed by Naples, which is all the better.
And don't forget about the Sfogliatella.
Oh, it's Sfogliatella. Oh, they have
the best pastries.
I would have to say outside of like
Paris.
French cities that have amazing patisseries. The pastry scene in Naples is really just outstanding with some of the most incredible baked goods you're going to see.
But really all of Campania, because even in Salerno, the pastries are fantastic. It's just great.
So in Rhode Island, there's a big Italian-American community and great bakeries, except we call it Schfudadel. So describe your favorite Schfudadel in Naples.
Well, there's the Delizia al Limone.
Right, well, he's asking me.
Oh, you, okay.
I like the ones that, what are they called? There's two different types of Sfogliatella.
There's Riccia and Sfoglia. I forget what the other one Yeah.
Well, I like the ones that are flaky, and the best ones
Super flaky.
have cherry.
Oh, okay.
Like on top. Like there's this place called, was it Solitella Mary?
Yeah, they did.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. What was it?
Amare.
Amarena. Amarena. Yes. Yeah, Amarena, which are the like
sour.
The sour cherries
Yes.
that are preserved. Like they're sort of like sort of an Emilia-Romagnan answer to maraschino. You know,
Yeah, right.
That same thing.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
little
man.
smaller.
Yeah.
Sweet, just as sweet. Really good.
Yeah, so good. Oh, man. I got to go back to Naples. I keep threatening to go there for St. Joseph's Day so I can get a Zapel.
Oh, but it's not just that. There's also the grappa.
Yeah.
These donuts, these sort of horseshoe-shaped donuts.
Oh, right.
What are the snowflakes?
There's a newer pastry shop that does pastry called Fiocco di Neve, and it's sort of
snow.
It's sort of a brioche type pastry with a little bit of cold, like really cold cream in the middle. It has the powdered sugar on top, right, too. And they do it in different flavors, but it was like this pastry chef, I think he was on Top Chef Italy, was that? Yeah, or something like, or Master Chef, one of those like cooking shows, and they challenged him to come up with a new pastry, and it just became this very famous thing, and they're amazing.
Wow.
Just amazing.
It's worth a flight.
It is absolutely.
Okay,
It is.
we can fly by Ryanair. We can get
can.
there cheap, man.
You bet. Yeah, they quite frequently to Lisbon.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So we did France, we did Italy. You mentioned Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia, we did mainly Vietnam. We've done some Thailand. Mainly, we spent about a month in Chiang Mai, and we did some time in Bangkok. Mindy has spent a lot of time in the Thai beaches, but that was quite a while
That was
ago.
a long time ago.
But Vietnam, to go in Vietnam to understand that pho is almost like a breakfast food. You get up at, say, 6 a.m. to go out. You'll have pho at 7 a.m. Or we were in Da Nang, and you go out to the beach in Da Nang, 5:30 a.m., 5 a.m., packed with people.
Really?
Yeah, all playing like sports and such.
Volleyball.
And then what would you do after? Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a dish in central Vietnam called Mi Quang. It's spelled like Mi Quang or Mi Quang, but it's pronounced Mi Quang.
Miquang.
Mi Wong.
Mi
Yeah,
Wang.
and it's a noodle dish. It's got a little bit of broth, and it's really great.
It's like a
Protein.
fettuccine style rice noodle.
Okay.
So that was breakfast in Da Nang.
It's so interesting in Southeast Asia and a lot of Asia where you get these savory breakfasts rather than sweet like you would here in Europe, where it's a bun of some kind, a pastry of some kind, and an espresso,
I think it goes back to the days when a lot of these people were poor and they worked very long and hard days and they needed something substantial in the morning.
Right.
But now it's part of the culture.
And also, when you get past 10 a.m. in Vietnam, it gets a little bit hot. So
Right.
generally, it almost, I don't know exactly. We would work. We'd find a place that had some air conditioning, but, basically that's kind of almost a break in between. Because then, once again, at night, you'll see places just alive, buzzing. Like there's food called Hai San, where you'll have like 40 different tanks of seafood where you pick your seafood and they'll grill it or they'll serve it with bun, which is like rice vermicelli, and doing different things like that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, interesting. So Southeast Asia, Europe, where else did you guys go?
We were also in Japan. We spent some time in Osaka,
Oh,
which is quite a
Osaka.
food city.
I've wanted to try and connect with someone in Osaka so that I could do a episode about that city, and I haven't found the right person yet. So I'm going to rely on you guys. Tell me about Osaka.
Well, we were there for a couple weeks. It's a pretty deep dive. And there's so much more, I think, that we just wanted to touch on. We had a favorite noodle shop where, like, you actually go into the main train station, and it was literally like 4 levels underground.
Wow!
With, like, no windows. You'd walk in, it was a little like curtain. They were these very thick ramen noodles. It was just a relatively different experience than you have heard about with Japan. The thing is, I think you have to have a good mental map to know where to go when you travel through these different train stations and shopping centers and knowing where you are.
But the market there is fabulous. You can have some of the best sushi of your life. is in the market.
Yeah.
And street food is fantastic. I think that's also a city where you can't have a bad meal, or at least it would be challenging to find one.
Right.
I mean, from high-end to cheap eats, it's like, it's all there.
I've heard other people in Japan say that you can actually get really good food in the train station.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Well, you were talking about, so street food in Osaka, you have takoyaki, you have okonomiyaki. But then we also walked through their main market, and there was a guy just slicing tuna right in the middle of the market. Give it to you on a plastic tray.
Right.
You'd have some tuna sashimi or tuna over rice, and it's really with little salmon eggs on top. I don't know. It's just a very unique place that way.
So after 3 years of living out of a suitcase, did it just wear on you? You just get tired of it? You just said, we need to find a place to land? What?
Well, I'd have to say the first year was very exciting, and we were trying to figure things out. The second year was really good. The third year was hard because we were kind of tired of dragging our bags everywhere and going to new places and starting over every month or two. So at that point, it was time to end it.
Okay.
So I think 2 years would have been optimal. 3 years was our limit.
Yeah.
To have a home base can really make a difference. You just feel like you just want to be able to set up your own. For example, here in Lisbon, I set up an Asian pantry in my kitchen.
Right.
It's where just I can cook all sorts of Chinese food and stuff like that.
Sure.
That was actually during the pandemic. But just to have those good old creature comforts of knowing that you're going to be in one place makes a big difference.
So how did you decide on Lisbon in Portugal?
Well, as we mentioned, we spent our honeymoon here all the way back in 2007, but we didn't ever think we would live here. But as we were traveling around, we had made some very good friends in South Africa they're actually Australians, and we visited them in the Algarve. And they enlightened us on the possibility of getting a visa in Portugal. Mm-hmm. Since we already love Portugal, it was pretty much a no-brainer. And 6 months later, we were living here.
Yeah. And now, 6.5 years later or whatever, you're eligible to apply for citizenship. So it's a pretty nice deal.
It is. I think we want to stay here for a while. It's nice. It's a good home base, and the funny part is the longer I'm here, the more I discover about Portugal. It's kind of I think the first few years you're like, well, I miss this, I miss that, but now I've come to appreciate the things that I can get here.
So tell me about some of the things that you really like about Lisbon, some of the places that you like to go. Do you have favorite haunts that you're hanging out at, getting a great meal or getting a great coffee?
I think the beauty, and this is what I think a lot of Americans who come here don't understand it, because I think America is a eat out culture. They'll go out to dinner almost every night. It's always we're bringing food in or something like that. But Europe is a cook at home culture, and I'll talk to people and they'll be like, I'm like, are you planning on cooking at home? They just look at me dumbfounded, to be able to cook at home in Europe is key. I mean, you've got all this beautiful charcuterie, all this great cheese. I'm a big cheese fan. That's one of the things that I love about Europe. Now I've discovered that you can get certain Asian products that you couldn't get in the U.S. Now, certainly in the U.S., it goes the other way. And of course, there's always things that you can't get wherever you are. But all the fresh fish. I mean, I don't know, to go out and buy fish for the kind of prices we have here. Shrimp. I was talking to my brother. I'm going to throw some shrimp in. It costs me under 10 euros a pound.
Yeah, right.
To enjoy what I like. And those are the things I appreciate. But of course, going out, we love Taskas. Lately, there's been more. I think they're starting to get on the train of having well cooked, interesting, traditional food that is well sourced and well served. That's one of the trends that we're starting to see pop up here in Portugal that we're really loving. Yeah.
I think I agree with you that there is a cook-at-home culture here. I think when people go out, a lot of times it's to hang out in a cafe like we're doing right now, enjoying a coffee and sitting and hanging with friends. That's a lot of the going out part. And the other thing is, it's you don't often see people, in the States, we would have people over all the time, and you see a little bit of that, but there's less of hey, come over to the house and let's, do this. It's more, let's go meet somewhere and hang out and, and talk and have a drink and whatever.
Yeah, I think we do both, but lately we've been more into the Tashkas, meeting friends there, or just going ourselves, where we just have more simple food, and we have places we really like. We've been to a lot of the Michelin-starred restaurants, and they're very great and everything, but you can only do that once in a while.
Yeah, it's a splurge, right?
It's a splurge. Yeah. It's a lot of food, and it's.
You tell me more about Tashkas. If you're coming to Portugal, you have to go to Tashkas. It's really important. I think a lot of people got caught up, once again, they get caught up in different guides and the Michelin guide and all that other stuff. Whereas there are Tashkas everywhere where you'll see the traditional Portuguese just eating lunch, especially you're talking about down in Setúbal.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have that too.
Big time. And Grandma's still in the kitchen.
And you got plenty of choco there. That's for sure. Choco is cuttlefish.
Yeah, choco frito in Setúbal. Yeah.
There are a couple places near us. There's one place called Marinha do Arco, which we call the Arch. It's actually become world famous because it's been on some Mark Wien's videos and such, where it's right next to Rocio Square, Rocio Square, and you go under an arch and you don't really see it, and you go in and it's a mixture of a lot of educated tourists and locals that go eat there. They have wonderful things like the octopus rice stew, or on Thursday is usually. Thursday is usually Cozido Day, Cozido ao Português, which is basically just a very wide selection of Portuguese pork and meats over cabbage. It's a kind of a melange. Maybe it's not everybody's thing, but it's definitely a very Portuguese thing to do. They have wonderful patanistas, the bacalhau, which are sort of bacalhau, salcado pancakes there. And what's the other Tosh we like to go to? Is
I remember the name.
A Provinciana.
A Provinciana. It's a really quirky place, not far from the center of town, and the walls are covered with clocks.
Okay.
And the owner made all the clocks. They're like Cuckoo clocks with little miniature liquor bottles and things like that. And there's nothing fancy about it, and it's just really good.
These are the best places, though.
Yeah.
These hole in the walls.
I mean, how often in America are you going to go in and get it? Now they've gone up a little bit in central Lisbon, get a piece of grilled fish, just fresh grilled fish, done very well. Now, I mean, sometimes you'll have to debone your fish, so that throws a few people off, for, say, 10 to 12 euros. Sometimes it used to be the Prato de Dia would include 3 courses, but in central Lisbon things are more expensive, and you'll see that more on the outskirts of Portugal, maybe where you live too. You would see that,
yes.
Or a homemade stew that they've cooked for 6 hours.
Right.
It all depends on what's going on the day for just to be able to do that affordably. Sometimes you'll see the one guy, you could tell that he goes there every day. This guy, maybe in his 60s. Will come, sit down, order his grilled fish, and then every day for dessert they bring out his segment of melão, which is almost like honeydew melon, but Portuguese style. Yeah. And that's what he'll eat every day for lunch.
That melon is so good here.
Oh.
I can't tell you how many bad honeydew melons I had. I stopped buying it in the States because it was always hard and flavorless. And when I saw it the first time at our market, Livramento, I was like, oh, okay, well. And then I tried it. I'm like, this is the greatest. This is better than cantaloupe. This is the greatest melon I've ever had.
That gets back to the cookie at home thing. You go to any Pingo Doce or Continente, everything it may not be the best fruit and vegetables that you're going to have in the world, but it is high quality.
Yeah. And it's reasonably priced because we have to remember the Portuguese have some of the lowest salaries in Europe. So if a grocery store wants to stay in business, they better have low prices so the Portuguese can afford it.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mindy before, and she's like, let's talk about annoying food trends. And I said, I love it. Let's do that. That sounds like so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let Daryl start because it was actually his idea.
Okay, good.
So I'm not going to you.
Make him the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's really strange all over Europe now. I think because of maybe a lot of younger people traveling, you're getting less traditional food in the street and getting certain businesses. So the first annoying trend we have to say, and they're the smash patty burger places.
Oh, yeah, everywhere.
I mean, look, I love a hamburger. You know, when we first started traveling, we would go look, especially around Eastern Europe, if you order a cheeseburger, you're probably going to get meatloaf on a bun.
Yeah.
But now, someone taught somebody how to make a smash patty burger, and I just get the feeling that someone says, the latest rage, smash patty burger. You open down the block, all the kids come for your smash patty burger. You know, like...
We're not in a big city in Portugal, in Setúbal. We have 2 of those places within a 5-minute walk of our apartment.
And how many ramen shops?
Yeah. 3 or 4, maybe?
A lot.
That's light. So, for whatever reason, they're just opening ramen shops all over the place. I don't understand it. Some are a little strange and quirky, especially here in Portugal. Now, granted, there are a few just fantastic places for ramen in Lisbon. But on every corner, do we really need a ramen shop? I mean, do people travel across the Atlantic to have ramen?
In Portugal?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
I guess they do.
Based on the lines we see in our neighborhood, yes.
And I love a good pastel de nata. And every once in a while, I'll have one. You know, my birthday, we went to Pastéis de Belém.
Yeah.
And I had a pastel de Belém, and it was great. It just kind of brought me back. Which, by the way, if you're coming to Portugal, the best nata shop is going to be Pastéis. Well, you say Pastel de Belém because that's what they call them there, and they are a little slightly different. You really need to go there. I know everybody talks about the other place being so great, but Pastel de Belém is our favorite one. An aside.
It's amazing, and I've told this story before that I avoided it when we first came here because I thought it was all hype without ever having tried it. Then I went there, I was like, okay, this immediately goes to number 2 on the list. Number 1 for me is Pasteleria Santo Antonio.
Santo Antonio, very good. That actually, we had a guide on that, and that made it to the top of our guide. Yeah, and a great place to get a pastel de nata because you're in the middle of Alfama, and it's really nice. Well, to the story about how our first pastel.
Our first time was back in 2007 during our honeymoon, and we loved them so much that we returned the last night and bought some to take with us.
At like 10 o'clock, we saw they closed at 11, so we're like, okay, let's jump on the tram. We'll go down there.
Yeah, right.
We got there in time. We bought them. We were very happy. We were on our way to the airport the next morning, and we realized we left them in the hotel room.
No!
So we had the taxi go back. This is before Ubers. We had the taxi go back, and we retrieved our precious cargo.
Happy ending.
Very happy.
Which we ended up eating on a plane to Barcelona, like seated across from a bunch of rugby players.
Yeah,
There's
right.
Really some rugby tournament going on. That's an aside. Yeah.
As
fun.
one does.
As one does, yeah.
Nice. So you guys always have something cool on the horizon. You're always doing new stuff. What's coming up next for you, Mindy and Daryl?
Well, we are in the process of figuring that out. Some upcoming trips that might be happening soon include a trip to Prague. A city that we've been to a few times. We really like it there. And we have a special occasion to go there. We also are possibly going to Spain next month.
Nice.
To Andalusia.
Great.
So that will be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
also, we have friends coming, and we're going to be doing it'll be fun to play a little tour guide with some friends around Portugal, going up to Porto, going up to the Douro Valley.
Yeah.
I want to hit maybe 1 or 2 vineyards outside of the Douro Valley, like over in the Vinho Verde region, just to see. It's really beautiful over there, too. I mean, Douro Valley is beautiful, but the Vinho Verde region we're in for a little bit, it's really quite nice.
It's fantastic. But one thing I noticed up there, and I've written about this quite a bit, is in places like Braga, where you're right in the middle of that Minho Valley area, the Vinho Verde is great, right? But you don't have like enotecas. There's not a lot of places where you can go and like, okay, let me sample 3 or 4 different kinds. It's you go in and whatever the Vino Verde they have, and maybe it's even on tap, whatever they happen to have for the house, that's what you're going to be drinking.
And even at restaurants, just to get a pitcher.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like amazing for a few euros.
Yeah.
And it's some of the I don't typically like Vino Verde at the grocery store, but I love it at up in Minho and places
This
like
is
that.
an example of some of the better wines of that region are just look for just like Albarino in Spain, Alvarinho in Portugal. They're probably the best wines to have with seafood. They are so just tight and crisp. They're so good.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Be on the lookout. Well, Mindy and Daryl from 2 Food Trippers, thank you so much. Thank you for making the time and coming out to see me here in Lisbon. It's turning into a beautiful day.
I can see the blue.
We're finally getting some sunshine. This has been a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you. Definitely fun.
Okay, that's Mindy and Daryl, 2 Food Trippers. Reach them at 2foodtrippers.com. The number 2, foodtrippers.com. I've met a lot of people who've traveled to a lot of places and a lot of people who've tried a lot of dishes, but Mindy and Daryl, they've probably experienced both of those as much as anybody. And if you want to hear more of my conversation with this delightful couple, check out my Substack. Members can hear the whole conversation, including more annoying food trends and some quality Portugal wine talk. Become a Substack member at destinationeatdrink.substack.com. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we're celebrating summer with beer in Santa Fe, Asheville, North Carolina, Berlin, and more. Don't miss that. Until then, I can tide you over at destinationeatdrink.com. I just posted a new video. This one is a day trip to the island of Gozo in Malta in the Mediterranean. Some cool sights, an incredible hidden gem of a restaurant in a little town run by 2 grandmas. You can watch that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or by going to my YouTube channel. That's at youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. I also have a new foodie travel guide ebook. This one is to the charming medieval city of Bruges. It's all the best things to eat and drink, including a unique waffle, tons of great chocolate, and a crazy beer. Literally crazy. Download your copy along with all my other foodie travel ebooks at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink, and thank you very much. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson, and I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.